Good morning, New Gospel Youth staff. This is your guidance and touch policy training. This is a very big training, so we're going to take our time and we're going to go through this to make sure everybody understands the parameters of guidance and touch policies. Guidance is the essence of child development. You must be able to develop relationships with youth and with children. And a lot of ways to develop that is how you do your guidance techniques. So I want to make sure that you understand positive guidance and negative guidance and understand what things you're supposed to do and what are our triggers. And sometimes we let things happen that will take us from a positive side and kind of move us toward that negative ways, and kind of how sometimes our upbringing and some of our beliefs can help us or deter us in these areas. So first thing we're going to talk about the Navy policy. Now, the intent of the Navy Child Guidance and Touch Policy is to inform CY professionals about their responsibilities for ensuring appropriate adult-child interactions. I'm going to stress that again, appropriate adult-child interactions across the program. The Navy requires a positive approach to guidance that teaches children and youth conflict resolution. It facilitates to understand their boundaries and builds self-esteem. Guidance is positive discipline and should be consistent so children know what is expected to them. Everybody who knows what their expectations are can flourish. If you don't know what is going to change from day to day, you're like, I don't know, yesterday I did it this way, today do I supposed to do it this way or not? So making sure that we have consistent expectations, not only in one room, but throughout our program, will allow children to flourish. This ensures that children are safe and protected, and we have a positive climate in our program, and we're modeling appropriate behavior. Adult and child interactions that cause harm or put children in danger are considered to be maltreatment or abuse, which is prohibited and considered a condition for immediate dismissal. I want to stress that for you. I want to make sure that you understand that when you take your interactions into a place where it's considered to be maltreatment or abuse, there are repercussions for that to include up to dismissal. We talked about in our last training about different types of abuse and maltreatment, and one of those things is emotional abuse. One of those things is physical abuse, and even sexual and neglect. But I want to make sure that you understand that abuse can come in different forms, and that even though your intent might not be to abuse a child, your actions could have repercussions or have an effect on a child that could be considered maltreatment or abuse. CYP professionals must be aware and understand all types of discipline that are considered inappropriate. The following interactions are considered inappropriate and prohibited forms of CYP professional guidance. So I'm going to go over those prohibited practices. These are the prohibited practices that you're not allowed to do in CYP. First thing, corporal punishment. There is no corporal punishment where we talk about humiliating kids, frightening children, using any threatening language, or any kind of punishment, which could include spanking, hitting, slapping, pinching, or exposure to extreme temperature. I'm not turning it off, no. Or you don't like it because it's hot in here, well, I'm going to turn the AC all the way off. That's not what we're doing. We're not shaking children. We're not exposing them to any type of pain or punishment. Corporal punishment is not allowed in CYP. I have walked into situations where the whole entire class is in some type of punishment or some type of discipline or guidance, as the teacher says, guidance. Not every member in that room was doing something wrong or something that teacher needed to give out a classroom guidance or consequence. That is considered corporal punishment. Everybody's part of it. You know what I'm saying? It is not something that we should be doing in our environment. Verbal abuse, threats, abusive profane language, criticism, or derogatory remarks about a child or a family. That is one thing I want to make sure that you understand. Criticism of children or derogatory remarks about children and their family is considered a prohibited practice. You criticize someone when you believe what they're doing is wrong, and you don't have an understanding of why they're doing something. You must take the time when you see a situation to say, hey, what is going on? Why am I seeing this? What is the antecedent? Why am I getting this behavior? Then you can develop the consequences, because all of us as CYP professionals should know our ABCs. What is happening? What happened before? Why am I getting this behavior? Why am I seeing this behavior? Then I can develop a consequence or some type of guidance techniques. Criticizing a child about They should do this. They should be doing this. They should do all the. We have to make sure that we're not putting our own personal stances in our professional environment. We cannot have any physical restraints, can't restrict the child's movement, or tell them hey, go in the corner, or you go sit over here. And where they want to stay separate from the rest of the group for a certain amount of time. Those are ways you can't do that. There's no emotional abuse. We're not talking to a child and humiliating them in front of the rest of their peers, and we're not threatening with physical punishment. Rejecting or isolating or exposing a child, withholding naps, meals, snacks, denial of seconds, or anything like that is not what something we should do. I know a lot of times at home, I want you to read this one before, in denial of seconds until they finish everything on their plate is not something we can do. That is a trick, because I know some of y'all going to say, what about the USDA? Denial of seconds means you're saying you got to have your whole plate eating before you can go back. We can't restrict certain things, like they say the child wants a lot of protein, but they're not eating their vegetable. We can't say, hey, you had a lot of protein already. You have an option to get vegetables, get more vegetables. You get more fruit, but you already have too much protein already. What we want to do is still understand that is not a denial as far as a guidance techniques. That is a USDA looking for healthy childs on our healthy living protocols we do. We're not restricting, we're not saying you got to eat the whole plate before you get a second. We're just saying, hey, you might want not to have any more proteins or any more fruit because you might want to try those different vegetables you have or the other things on your plate too. But those are things, they can have as many vegetables they want. They can have as many fruit they want because maybe they don't need as many proteins. That's why I make sure you understand. But we're not saying you have to eat the whole entire plate before you get seconds. We're definitely not stopping kids from going to the bathroom. There should not be a situation where we say, hey, you was in the bathroom 5 minutes ago, why you got to go back again? You don't know what that child's going through. They might have a stomach situation. They might have something that's going on. If I need to go to the bathroom, let me go to the bathroom. Withholding outdoor play as punishment, you cannot say, hey, because you did this, you can't go to the playground today. That's another no-no. And we're not grabbing or jerking or pulling children. I want to put a caveat to this and say, this is in the bottom of our note of this slide. If you're doing something, you have to touch a child to prevent them from having immediate bodily harm. I am running across the table and you grab me before I fall off the end. Or I'm about to do something, I'm running out the door and the door's about to hit me in the face. But you grab me to stop me from hitting the door. We had a situation where there was a dog outside of our facility and a child tried to run past the staff member to get to the dog. Staff member put their arm out. And they stopped the child from going out. That is not anything, that is within policy, and I was happy that the staff member did that because children sometimes don't know what they're doing. We didn't know what kind of dog that was. We didn't know what could have happened to that child. What if the child had walked out and the dog smelt fear and started attacking the child? The staff member did what they needed to do to protect the child at that time. And one thing that supported them, they were on camera. The camera showed the whole entire incident, and I was like, I told the parent, I told my chain of command, the staff member did everything correctly in this guidance technique right here. So those things I want you to be understanding. If you are doing the right thing, you will not have any repercussions. Second thing we'll talk about is touch. Touch is an essential part of providing care for children, and youth must be done in a positive and affectionate manner. Children and youth should not feel uncomfortable because of a touch of a CYP professional. Again, children and youth should not feel uncomfortable about a touch of a CYP professional. Inappropriate touch for CYP professionals is prohibited by the Navy, and I'm going to show you the following table that shows examples of appropriate and inappropriate touch. Before we go any further, I want to talk about touch. We have different children with different disabilities. Touching is recognized differently from different children. That's also by their disabilities, but also by their home upbringing. Some children don't like to be touched. Like you might have some children that say, well, look, I don't like anybody touching me. That's fine. Respect their child's space. We have some adults. I don't like anybody being in my bubble. We respect their space. So just because you could say this is an appropriate touch based off Navy policy, it might not be appropriate for that child or that person. Respect everybody as a human being and do what they're asked to do, please. So let me go out of this screen. I'm going to show you the appropriate touch chart. So this is the Navy guidance and policy right here. So we're gonna move this down. So let's talk about this. And hopefully everybody can see this. I'm gonna try to make it a little bigger for everybody. There we go. Myself over here. Here we go. So for infant, prechild, and toddler, cuddling, holding, rocking, gently patting on the back, sitting in the child's lap is appropriate. That's an infant, prechild, and a toddler. That's CDC. So that's something I want to make sure you understand. Some things are good for some areas. Because if we go down, inappropriate is to have a youth sitting in the lap of a staff member. So youth should not be sitting in the lap of a staff. So you cannot say, hey, Mr. Kennedy, I thought I saw appropriate touch for sitting in the lap. For an infant, yes. For a prechild, I can see it. But anybody above that, you should not be sitting in the person's lap. We need to be understanding there is a different development for every stage of care. So I'm not going to read everything on this chart. This is something we have posted in our lobbies. This is something we have in our policy manuals. I want to make sure that you understand. So these are things you definitely don't want to do. You don't want to, in our area, this kind of very particular area close to our area. Appropriate, sitting side by side with the youth, touching the youth on their shoulder, patting on the back, handshakes, fifth bump, high fives, great things to do. Taking care of injuries. We don't apply sunscreen too much. We kind of ask our peers to help them with that, but those are still under supervision. So we're not going to do a whole lot of putting the sunscreen and things. I don't know. We're going to try to hopefully we have siblings that support each other or friends, but we're still watching to make sure hands are not going to inappropriate places. We also want to make sure that hugs, when initiated by the youth, I'm going to be very careful. Excuse me. Frontal hugs are a big no-no in my book. Side hugs, when I got a shoulder to shoulder, and I put you around and say, hey, how you doing? That's great. The reason why we have developing children, I'm going to pick on my young men right now. Sometimes when they go through adolescence, they seek out physical touch. It's something that we do as we develop. Give you another story that's happened here. Sitting inside of our social rec room, there was a group of boys sitting right close to me by the table beside me. We had a staff member walking through the social rec room from one side to the front door. The whole table of boys is watching the staff member walk through the room. And as an adult male, I'm looking at the boys like, I know y'all really not just doing this. So I had to take all of those boys and talk to them about inappropriate behavior because that's objectifying a person. You have to make sure that you're not doing those things. And sometimes boys or even young girls will do things to get that touch. I'm going to walk up to somebody, I'm going to put my head on you. Oh, hey, how you doing, Miss Such and Such? But I'm trying to get a physical touch. So a side hug is fine, but nobody should be approaching anyone, child to adult to a child, sometimes in a frontal way. It just kind of, I like to get those parameters out to help everybody understand, hey, that's a little too much. All right, we're going to show a couple videos, and we're going to go through some of the different things on the videos and why I think we need to be careful with the different ways. So let's go to my first video, and we're going to play this. All right, let's talk about this. This teacher is telling Caleb he misfollowed the directions of the classroom. However, I had some issues with this. Caleb often came in upset. There was no kind of like allowance to say, okay, Caleb already came to the classroom upset. Something might have happened prior to him coming to class. As a professional, she should have saw that from the start. Second thing, it was done in front of his peers. So how's Caleb supposed to react? If I'm already upset, you calling me out in front of the public, in front of everybody else, then I'm going to ride this wave on. I'm going to keep on acting out and doing different things. So to me is that we keep on watching it. She should have taken the time to say, okay, Caleb, let's figure out what's going on and let's see what's coming. And that should have been done privately. Because what is he really doing there?